Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 15. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Jill.
So good to see you.
So good to see you.
We were just talking about the fact that with the Chinese New Year that just happened this last couple days ago, it's the year of the snake. I know I
Yeah.
did some sleuthing for my immediate family and sent them their info, and we had some really good conversations about it. So it was fun.
Yes, I agree. I love the sense. I was actually out on the trails. This was kind of fun, and there was a Chinese family that we met on the trail. They're
Hmm.
like, "Happy New Year, Happy New Year," and that was just
Yeah,
so cool. It
it
was,
is cool.
and the her mother was visiting from China and wanted to take a picture of my friend and I because
Oh,
I
that's
guess we were
cute.
locals. I don't know. It was fun, but to have
Yeah.
her from the Chinese
Hmm.
people is just really,
Hmm.
really a beautiful thing.
Definitely.
Yes.
So it's yeah, let's all take a breath.
Ah,
That feels so good.
mm,
Mm. I'm just led to say this. In every moment, we are so many things. In every moment, we are the most expanded possibility of our soulfulness. In every moment, we are amazing potential in our humanness. In every moment, we can be incredibly soft and vulnerable in our lives while also being steely strength to get through any challenges that we're facing in our lives.
mm,
Um, anyway, I love that the possibilities in every essence of who and what we are. And I like to surprise myself. I don't know if you're
mm,
like that, but I love to surprise myself in what I can be and what I am and what I'm capable of. I like those surprises.
I do too. And I've had such an experience lately. I'm always on, we always are on some sort of evolutionary journey, right? And making choices about how we're experiencing and expressing here. And I've had so many experiences of choice points, I want to say, where I'm literally just driving or being or doing something, and I can feel that there's an opportunity to be another aspect of myself. And there's a choice point, and I can almost see like the forks in the road, right? And there's a real just like, yes, like let's be this additional aspect of me. And it's been just phenomenal. And I love that. And it's very much what we're the newness of all of it and just
Hmm.
the expansiveness of it and the surprises in it. It's fantastic.
It is good. I don't want to interrupt the topic that you had on your heart today because I'm excited to hear what it is. You have an
Mm.
idea? I think I heard you say you had an idea for the topic today, and I don't want to get in the way. God, my hair is so puffy today. I apologize, everybody. Like, what did I do?
Um, well, it's pretty much what I just said.
Okay, love it.
Choice points,
Mm.
choice points. And there's different parts of our brain that are being engaged now, I'll say. And I feel it very sensationally, not in a bad way, but I can feel it's like, whoa, my frontal lobe is doing something. Oh, now, and you don't have to, nobody has to have this particular experience. This is just my relationship with my world, right? But what
Mhm,
I can feel is it's happening with all of me neurologically, how I
mhm,
think, my awareness of different opportunities.
mhm,
And I can't tell you this idea of, I'll call it leveling up. People might not feel it in that particular regard,
mhm,
but it's more opportunities, is another way of saying it. And it's been so real for me.
mhm,
And I had a friend in town, which is why I was out in the trails and we ran into the incredible Chinese family. But as we're driving through town, we can feel where we're literally, it's like, wow, did you feel that? And there's a real sensational opportunity where it's like, I'm going to choose this now. And what that does, it transcends habit, I want to say, which Wow. Just that one thing, if we can notice where we're in a habit that really no longer fits who we are any longer.
Hmm.
Right? Because that habit keeps me from a level of expression that's here that maybe wasn't 2 seconds ago, right? And
Mhm.
that very much has to do with kind of the energetics or the level of God consciousness or the flavor or type of God consciousness or unconditional love available to me.
Mm. I feel so much freedom in what you're saying. And I get excited about choices. There is that rebellious part of my Jill that the minute somebody says, "Oh, I know exactly what you're going to experience next. You're, on this part of your journey and this is what it's going to look like." I immediately resist because I
Mm,
feel like there's no space for me to make it my own. And
mm,
I'm definitely like that, including in my spirituality. I don't I don't appreciate it when anyone is saying to someone, "Oh, no. Okay, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing readings? How long have you been, conversing with your team, your guides?" So, and then they start to peg it as, oh, and then put a box around it. And I
mm,
guess in some version of ourselves, that expectation can be helpful because you kind of know what's next in the road. But there's also a limitation to it because just because 99 out of 100 did experience a certain similarity at some points in their journey, whether it's even a human experience of losing a parent or losing a pet or divorce or marriage or whatever, that doesn't mean that's going to be your experience. I love the freedom in that, that
mm,
you can make every experience your own. So, I mean, this is a spirit based podcast. So when someone says, "Oh, well, we've only reached this level of, dimensional vibration on the planet." And I'm like, "Says who?" And maybe that's true for you, but what level do you think we're at now? Oh yeah, we reached 5. We reached the 5th dimension in 2013. And there's sort of this isn't we I just kind of laughed when I felt that static nature to it because
mm,
to me it's always felt so real that as soulfulness embodied, we have, I don't want to use the word limitless, but I also do want to use the word limitless vibrational capacity. We are not individually limited. We are not even collectively limited. It doesn't matter that some person feels like they are at the highest vibration and for them it's got a number of 9 to it. If for somebody else they feel like they're creating their version of 26, and some of us don't even need a number, right? So this release from somebody else's expectation, this release from even our own definition of who and what we are, where we're at evolutionarily, um, I feel gives us more capacity individually. And it's okay if you don't feel anyone else next to you in that
mm,
version of your experience. If you feel like you are having a completely transcendent experience that's beyond people that you've considered teachers, beyond
mm,
your peers, beyond what you know of as students, give yourself freedom in that. And this place gets really, really fun.
mhm, mm. I just want to take a breath on that. Ooh, wow. Ooh, I hope.
There's something else that comes up here, Janet, and I'm gonna be very vulnerable here.
Mm,
This is gonna be very this is a less likable form of my Jill, and I'm just gonna own that.
mm,
For any of us that have been going on our own journey,
mm,
spiritually, soulfully,
mhm,
it is common to feel like, why is everybody else holding themselves back? Why are there so few that are experiencing the authentic transcendence that some of us are?
Mm,
So it can look and feel arrogant. It can look and feel judgy.
mm,
Um, and yet, I just want my team to say, how far are you going to go with this? This like pulling back the curtain. I don't know what I'm comfortable sharing there, but I just know that when I've been on telesummits, there's
mm,
audience members that have found me saying, "You're the first person to ever say out loud what I've been thinking this whole time."
mm,
Why are they still talking about, this thing that seems like we were talking about the same thing 20 years ago? Why is this person that's always on that show still talking about, things that seem basic to them or less relevant to them or just like just not no juice in that fruit. Um, so I know, and Janet, this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this with you. I know that you stand out because I see your energy. I know with my gifts that I can see your gifts. And there
mm,
is a, rocket ship sort of experience to this where we're letting ourselves be almost indifferent that some people don't get us, that some people expect that we're, have a 2-hour protocol every morning to get our vibration and our energy field clear. And I'm like, I've never done that. I've never done protocols. And that's fine if people do. But what if you don't need to?
mm.
And I get it that some people are like, well, God, don't you think you're special? Takes me 2 hours. Why? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'll be quiet now.
Mm. Wow. So I just want to thank you for your level of vulnerability
Mm,
and
thank
just
you.
like give you a hug for that. Truly. Wow. I just dropped into a completely new level myself here, right there, just with your vulnerability. So I love that.
Mm,
And I feel a little tender, I want to say, so I hope everybody has their own experience of that. I am struck by how this really ties back to episode 13 when we were talking about sitting back in ourselves. And this was Jill's faster spiritual growth. Mine was freedom and joy and continual expansion. Those were the topic or the titles of those podcasts in 13. And the power of that and the evolutionary potential in that is more than our human minds can really comprehend.
mm,
And that's when we step back enough that our vision becomes, I want to say, all encompassing. And then that's when we get to see those opportunities or those choice points. And I even want to say creation points,
mm,
which is a term that for me, when I work with clients, those are the ones that I really want to invite people to embrace. And creation points can mean that it looks like you're falling apart. You might be melted in a puddle, on your living room floor. That's a creation point. It might be that you're standing on top of the mountain and there's such beauty that it just takes your breath away.
mm,
And you feel God in a way that you've never felt it before,
mm,
right? Like both of those are creation points. And those are kind of two extremes of it. But that's really, I think, Jill, with both you and I, that's living. That's kind of a definition of living here. And nothing else really suffices.
mm,
And I do hear that too when we've talked about this, when you listen to somebody that you heard a year ago and they're sharing the same thing.
mm,
And I have absolutely no judgment. And maybe they are there to help a particular group get from a point A seemingly to a point B. Like, fantastic. But that's not me, right? That's not there's so much more that's available. And we talked about skipping steps, and we talked
Mhm.
about that potentiality, the customized potentiality, you know, and there's that thinking because we've been taught this or told this that it has to be that linearly sequentialness, you know, and that is really not in my vocabulary. I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't get into that frame of mind sometimes, right? This is Earth, by the way. Um, and it happens. It really happens. And that's not really where my soulfulness is.
Mm.
Wow. So everybody, see if you can just
Mm.
drop into your heart. There's a real heart opening, I want to say, opportunity here, and you get to make it what you want.
Yeah.
What we are offering is another level of, I want to call it heart recreation,
Mm.
right? So it's got a level of alchemy of being able to rearrange who we thought we were or how we even access what we call God consciousness source, 0 point,
Mhm.
use whatever word fits for you. But let that be nonlinear is what the invitation is. Stillness, 0 point. And in this moment, when we like just let yourself have that.
Mm.
Let it's a gift. I mean, kind of another like sub theme or different way of looking at this. I really was feeling what service is, and service to our humanness,
Mm.
all the way down to our physicality, is where we give ourselves permission to
Mhm.
experience a level of God consciousness
Mm.
that we have never felt in human form.
The energy that I want to add to what you are so beautifully offering and creating here, Janet, is this concept of trusting ourselves.
Mm,
That is such a foreign concept for many spiritual experiencers even, and of course spiritual seekers. And I do theorize that some of the individuals that do feel almost tethered to certain teachings or teachers,
mm,
they feel like they can't trust themselves. And what
mm,
the brain does is it glorifies another person's spiritual gifts at the
mm,
expense of themselves.
mm,
Right? So even if a teacher or a concept of teachings that they've been loyal to and got them to maybe a certain level or place in their journey, they feel like, well, I can't let that go. I can't. Yes, that teacher is saying the same thing they said a year ago, or maybe even 10 years ago, but I can't move on because I'm loyal to them and they have gifts I don't have. So that must mean there's still more for me here with that person or with those teachings. And if it's at the expense of what more you can be and how spiritually connected you are and can't not be,
mm,
even if you don't know yourself as spiritually gifted or spiritually able, right? The brain does some really, I want to use the word sinister, but I don't want to use that word. Um, but it did pop in my pop in my consciousness. The brain does us a disservice many times in our thoughts, in making someone else feel like they're more capable and more confident than ourselves. And I do love to support in people thoughts that are more conducive to them feeling the spiritual connection they are. And
mm,
again, can't not be,
mm,
right? So I know what it feels like when somebody is giving me too much credit because of the spiritual gifts that I allow myself to share and be and convey in this world. And I'm constantly wanting to go like, okay, I feel the pillar the pedestal you put me on, and I'm going to pull you up here with me, or I'm going to jump off this pile of bullshit that you put me on and sit right next to you, right? And show you that I'm actually very judgy, which means opinionated. I have opinions about almost everything, right? Which opinion and judgment is a very fine line between them. That doesn't mean I'm telling anyone else what they should do, but I will always be willing to say what I think they should do. But it doesn't matter what I think what someone should do or what I feel like they are. It matters so much more what they feel they should be doing or what they should are. So, oh, that didn't even make sense. What they should be doing or what they are, right? That was so funny. It's what they should are. Jill. See, I'm right there, right down the level. I make mistakes, I get my words wrong, but overall, this trusting ourselves and what you were talking about, just this love that's available to ourselves, our definition of ourselves. And this does relate directly to the year of the snake. Right? Can you imagine a snake saying, oh my God, something's wrong? My skin, I just left it back there, like 2 feet away from me. Oh my God, I feel all vulnerable and slippery. And I did it wrong. This person didn't, that snake, they didn't shed their skin. And all this insecurity and self-doubt. And I have to find a snake to tell me what's going on and how to get my skin back. That's kind of a version of spiritual seeking and experiencing that a lot of people experience.
Mhm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Whew, I'm just sort of, wow, you said so much. I'm thinking just how the mind, so there's a different, I want to give like another option for the mind, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
As, so here I am, and I am around some incredibly gifted people,
Mm.
healers, visionaries. I mean, just profoundly the way that they're bringing in different options for reality here. So the little comparison aspect of me can get triggered, not nearly like it used to, or thinking that there's something outside of me that I need to be whole, right? Like those are a couple versions of the traps or the non-helpful mechanisms that my mind does, right?
Mm.
So I want to just present a different option here.
Mm.
The true for me were all these I'll say fractals of source, God. We're all a version of God, God's source. And when I am around somebody that's incredibly gifted, if I stay in my center, and when I'm in that incredible place of who I am, even if those little, mind thoughts are floating around me, they can still be floating around me. And I don't have to be concerned about them, right? To
Mm.
me, the like super cool thing is, how am I taking this opportunity to be more of who I am by feeling the gift that they're offering, that incredible skill set? And when I'm in that place, I'll use the word mastery, can increase exponentially. And there's no thought in this necessarily. There might be thoughts that come through, but
Mhm.
it's a really organic opportunity. And it's very much about staying within me. We talked about that, not leaning forward, staying within me
Mhm.
and enjoying the process. It's a different option, it's a different focus, it's a different choice point, and it's transcending the habit of it, right? There's a particular habit in that. And that's part of what I want to call the choice points because the patterns that I've been in, I continually kind of back up and see them from different perspectives. And all of a sudden, I can completely let them go because I don't engage in them. So I engage like fully, then I engage a
Mhm.
little less, then I engage a little less. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, wow.
Mhm.
Like I end up arriving at a different level of me. And so when we get incredibly gifted people and we're around, and this is everybody, mind you, I can look at anybody on the street and see their level of giftedness. And it might look like it's more mundane than other people. Great. But I can find that level of what they're reflecting back to me within me, quite literally. And that to me is those are those choice points, those are those opportunities. That's where I get to really be more.
Mhm. Our thoughts are such a huge part of what you're sharing here, and I'm really noticing that.
Mhm.
And it does, in some ways, relate to. I've definitely noticed in spiritual communities this sort of preoccupation with spiritual gifts, and
Mm,
it really bothers me because I know that some people will never feel confident, and that's a very emphatic statement. I realize that they will never feel confident in their spiritual giftedness.
mm,
And my response is always, then what if it doesn't matter? What if, yes, you have access to tangible spiritual giftedness? And what if it doesn't have to be about that? What
mm,
if one of your natural gifts is your optimism? What if it's your ability to forgive? What if it's your ability to laugh in the
mm,
face of the scariest effing thing in this world? And you're like, F you, you don't scare me. You know what I mean? That just fearlessness that we can have. All of us have a version of our natural temperament that I
mm,
would call a gift that you
mm,
can't take a class for. There wouldn't be a class offered for it. But those, to me, soulfully, are so much more relevant and so much more real than anything that we could call or offer as a professional service in terms of spiritual giftedness. Um, there was this guy I was talking to, this had to be like 10 years ago, and he said, so let me guess, you tell everybody that they can do what you can do. And I was like, no, I don't do that. And he goes, really? Really? Like, you don't tell everybody they can channel. You don't tell everybody that they can do mediumship. You don't tell everybody that they're psychically intuitive. And I'm like, no. And he said, why don't you say that? I said, because I don't think they are.
mm,
And I know you and I may disagree about this, and I do want to hear your opinion on this. But he said, so you actually believe that only certain people have the ability to be a medium, be a healer, be a psychic, be any of these things? And I said, yeah. He said, how do you know that? I said, because I know so many people that want to be those things. They've studied with the best of the best. They've
mm,
invested so much time, so
mm,
much money, and so much energy in acquiring giftedness that they still don't have.
mm,
So, is it possible that they have it and they keep self sabotaging and they haven't worked with their thought system
mm,
to accompany their giftedness? Yes. But, and I said, the biggest good news I have, those don't mean what they think it means.
mhm,
Spiritual giftedness does not mean evolution of lifetimes. It does not mean closeness to God. It does
mm,
not mean spiritual connectedness or God's favor, on them. It doesn't mean the things that we think it means. And that
mm,
to me is the best news of all of it.
mhm,
I've known some of the most energetically, I'm just going to say, messed up individuals that had serious gifts.
mhm,
I mean, finances were just a total shit show. Their relationships were terrible. Their
mhm,
house was a total mess. They were hoarders, and
mm,
yet they had serious. She was what was it? A pranic healer, and she
mm,
was good. But there was nothing about her life that otherwise looked like she was allowing herself to be the demonstration of soulfulness, of light, of God that
mm,
I know she is.
mhm. Yeah, that's a really
Just kind of rip the band-aid off. Sorry, everybody is like, Jesus, Jill,
well, let's talk about this because
getting excited until you're just like, boom, boom, boom. I didn't mean to do that.
well, this to me, this is I find this with you, Joe, quite a bit. Like you'll make a bold statement, I'll say, right? Like you'll make a bold statement. then I sit with it and contemplate it a bit. And I was like, well, I hear what she's saying. And when I break it down to a different level of perception, there's different things to say about it, right? So is everybody gifted? Hell yeah,
Mm.
right? There's just an essential aspect that I just see that I think is what you're really talking about here. And you can tell me if
They
I'm.
are the gift. It isn't about the ability. They are the gift. You can't not be the gift, but you
Mhm.
can get in the way of your gift, but it has nothing to do with spiritual abilities.
Yes. And and I just so there's a basic focus here that it's a grass is greener on the other side of the fence syndrome.
And that's thoughts.
That's thoughts. Because theirs look so dang good and I'm so focused outward, I can't even see that most times the reason I'm
Mm,
attracted to that person is I have my own version of that. But because
mm,
I'm so invested and I've defined it in the way that it expresses through that person, I can't even see it myself. So it's
mm.
funny. I really see that. I want that. I am that. I don't know that I'm that. I'm attracted to it because I am that, but I can't see it. And if I keep that focus outward, I can't even know how
Mm.
expresses through me.
I'm gonna, I want to add something to that. Um, because there's an element of what you just said that I hear as what we may celebrate in another person so that they demonstrate or embody so beautifully is actually something that number one we want and number two we already have. And I don't always agree with that second part because
Mhm,
there's so many other reasons why we may celebrate something that someone else has or is that we may not feel we have access to in this lifetime. There's so many reasons why it isn't because we have it. It's
mhm,
because we just celebrate it. I mean, there are so many ways we can plan our lifetimes. And as soulfulness, we might be like, you know what? I've done 5 lifetimes now. They're all going on. Obviously, all lifetimes are always going on, all at the same time to our soulfulness. There's no before, there's no after, there's no this, then that, right? So there are situations where as soulfulness, we're like, I'm not going in as a mediumship. I'm not going in as an oracle. No, 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 no. That was a lot. So I'm not going to connect myself with those abilities, but I am going to design myself in this way and in that way and in that way. And I'll probably still celebrate those gifts,
mhm,
like tangible gifts, in as somebody else when I see it because I know how much I love that lifetime. But I'm not doing that for this one.
mhm. Yes. I don't um I don't disagree with that. So this is one version of when I'm looking at somebody else that's true for me, right? And there are other, I agree, we do make choices about how we want to interact in this reality. And I mean, for me even it's funny because I really feel like I'm on a need to know basis. And so so sometimes the actual process of things or the consciousness of it, I'm not even interested in. I'm just interested in offering transformational moments for people without necessarily having to have consciousness around it. And that cracks me up because all these other people are getting into these deep exclamations. Sometimes they are explanation. Oh, that's really funny. That is
And
really
explorations. Yeah, I like that. I'm rubbing off on you in a bad way. Sorry, Janet. I'm catchy. I'm catchy today with my should ours.
Oh, that's really funny. Um, oh, that's so funny because I just completely lost the train of thought there too.
Oh,
Wow.
I want to
That,
help because I love what you were saying. It's like a preoccupation with knowledge, a preoccupation with, oh,
that's
it's almost like this attitude of, oh, I know everything going on in the world right now. Just ask me. And it's
yeah.
just, it's so, I find it so cringy and so unattractive and so inauthentic because it, it not only is impossible to know everything going on in this world, but who would want to know? That's terrible.
Yeah. Well,
Ugh.
and for me, I just want to point this out because I could choose, and I haven't, right? I could think that I'm less than because I
Mm,
can't tell you the details of the evolutionary cycle of that particular thing. Now, if you ask me a question about it, I can generally answer it and it will come through me. But it's not occupying my thought process
that's right.
because it's not necessary, because I'm much more
Mhm.
interested in those transformational moments where we hold that stillness and we can just allow the transformation, the alchemization, the more of me and you to happen in the moment. To me,
Mhm.
that's much more fun. It's much more efficient. And I don't know, it's stretching the reality as we've known it on this planet because it's timeless and
Mhm.
it really does have that lack of restriction on it,
Yes.
you know?
Think about, yes, this is so freeing. This is like shedding a skin. This is like a snake shedding a skin. Because think for anyone that knows themselves as the spiritual gift that they are, not abilities, just literally you and the amazingness, the glorification of your you that you are, even when you're not trying, with no certification on your wall saying you got it. You just are amazing.
Mhm.
Can you imagine if some of the beings that we look across time at, whether that's the Buddha or Kuan Yin or Jesus, etc., can you imagine if somebody were like, Jesus, I need to know what's happening on the other side of the world. And if you don't have an answer for me, then you're not as spiritually connected. You're not the teacher for me. I need you to pretend you know everything. Can you imagine how just screwed up that is, right? But I do feel like a lot of us that in any way feel the connection to source that we are, put weird expectations on ourselves that are completely unpleasant and also unfair. And it does create thoughts that get in the way
Mhm.
of us trusting the light that we are, the source energy we are. And it gets us into weird relationships with other people as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like there's an like an opportunity like right now for
Mm.
us to imagine a different way of being in our
Mm,
world,
totally.
right? Where
Yeah.
we're so,
Mm,
I want to say first in love with that, with us for one,
mm,
with God for another, with the experience of the beauty and the possibility of all the different ways to express unconditional love.
mm.
Even if that's a little messy sometimes, when that's foundational, incredible things happen, even when conflict presents,
That's right.
right? So there's that, that's what I want to say that implicit faith is in, just in
Mm,
that level of beingness and kind of letting all beliefs and ideas go. Literally shed those skins, those templates, those ideas, those beliefs that
mm.
conflict with I am an amazing aspect of source energy,
Yes.
you know, and being so, there's a level of purity here, I want to say. There's a
Mm.
level of purity here, and we're all that.
Yeah. Mhm.
And really, nothing else, nothing to me matters more than that.
Okay.
And everything comes out of that. Every thought can come out of that. Every movement, every creation, every conversation. And when I kind of step out, like we talked about leaning forward, I can
Mhm.
always come back in. And I can even make it a nice little spiral dance move if I feel like it?
Totally. Yes. This is,
Woo!
I mean, we have a year of this energy of Year of the Snake, and that's 12 months that
Yeah.
just started a few days, this last week from the time this is going live.
Yes.
Of I love your word reimagining what is your new definition that you want to try out of what it means for
Mm,
you to be spiritually connected, right? And spiritually connecting. What does that mean for you? What do you want it to mean?
mm,
And then I would offer for any of the thoughts that conflict with that or make you doubt yourself or make you retreat and be unnecessarily hard on yourself or judge yourself in a really mean way, that you
mm,
let those thoughts have zero weight almost
Mm,
like a feather kind of blowing in front of you on your walks. They don't have to get in your way. Those
mm,
thoughts don't mean what they used to mean. And you take that power back.
mm,
There was client experience I had many years ago, and then this concept came up again. She said, I just feel like I take two steps forward and one step back all the time. And I said, tell me more about this. And she said, I just feel like I make progress on something, and then I have these old patterns of thoughts or experiences or ways of interacting in certain ways that just feel like, damn it, I haven't gotten anywhere. And I was like, whoa, 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 hang on. And the visual that came up is when you are climbing a mountain on with your own 2 feet hiking, or even on in a vehicle or something like that, there are either switchbacks or there might actually be loops around the mountain. So you come to a certain place as you're climbing, where when for our ski resorts, you're like, oh, there's the town down below. Can you imagine us saying, well, damn it, I can still see that town. I'm doing it wrong. Every time you look to observe that town, you're from a different place.
mm,
You're literally in a different location of yourself and in this world, in
mm,
space and time.
mm,
So if your thought is shit, I can still feel that thing. I still have that thought. I'm right where I was before. You're not at the same place you were before. You
mm.
can see what you saw before, but you're never what you were before. You're always where you are now.
That is a beautiful metaphor. Beautiful. And when you were sharing that, what I was thinking about is our minds, literally our neurological system, our brains, this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, are literally reconfiguring. And the people that I know that work in this particular way, we've been talking about this and discussing it. And I can feel it just because that's who I am, right?
Mhm,
You don't have to feel it. But the opportunity, the opportunity is when we're in that place. Wow. Woo. This literally includes how our brains operate, how our brains interpret, what we value. That's what's being reconfigured. And that's happening on a very, what I want to say, physiological level, where the way our neurons and our brains actually communicate. And we're repatterning, reimagining that process.
mhm,
And that is how we're transcending habit and getting different perspectives and allowing those parts of our brain that science still hasn't recognized the value or what those parts of our brain do. Some of those are coming online now. And so that literally lets us have a new experience. And that we can have faith in, we
mhm,
can be curious about, and we can even enjoy it. You know, it's like sometimes, and you may have your own version of this, but it's a observational moment, and yours might look a little different than mine, where you literally see the shift. And those are the things that I don't want to miss because that's the joy of the experience on our planet Earth, that we can see these transformations, oftentimes not linear, right? We might see that it's shifted in a linear type way. But those same processes or beliefs are not engaged any longer. And that's because that's what we're recreating for ourselves,
mhm,
right? And those are the very real opportunities that are happening right now. And I know, like, when I feel these things happening within me, and then I talk to some of my friends and they're like, "Oh yeah," it's like it's really fun for me because not that it has to be that way, because sometimes I'm not doing the similar things, but it's a very real experience. And whether that looks like I don't think like I used to, I mean,
mm,
it's no different. I mean, kind of like if you're driving in your car and all of a sudden you noticed you took a different way. I mean, this happened to me just yesterday because I literally saw a new pathway. That's
mm,
kind of the physicalized, like the external representation of what's happening on the inside. And it was
Yeah.
much more efficient, and
Mhm.
it took into considerations that I wasn't even aware of necessarily.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, I love that. I really do. I love that.
So that's such a perfect example, Janet, because the opportunities are everywhere for us to have more of the experience that we desire. And I love the fact that what we each desire, there probably is a lot of variation in that. I love that part, right? Some people are looking to be more patient. Some people
Mhm.
are looking to be more understanding. Some people are looking for a clearer experience of themselves with the source energy they are. I love that the
Mhm.
shedding of the skin means different things to different people. And I want everyone to feel, I love your word faith. I could
Mhm.
also use confidence and trust that, of
Mhm.
course, what you want more of and what you'd like less of is
Mhm.
available to you. And that dial switch probably is partly in confidence, partly
Mhm.
in faith, and a lot, for me, it's a lot in our thoughts.
Mhm. And there is a level of unknown, or I would
Mm.
say disengaging or
Mm.
detaching from what has been.
There's the skin behind us as we slither away. Right?
I
Can be
love it.
so easy. Like you didn't even work at it. I don't know if any of the audience has ever watched a snake shed its skin. It's fascinating. My kids and I saw one when they were probably 5 years old and 8 years old.
Mhm.
And we were just on a walk and it was right near a golf course and there was a snake slithering, probably like a garter snake. And
Mhm.
it was kind of rubbing up against some of the taller grasses and some of the brush to kind of get some help. There's some friction in that, right? Let me get some friction in here to wiggle this off, right? So I can feel more of the newness. And I love that. And there is a vulnerability in that. Wait, I hope I didn't need anything in that. Oh, it's okay. You're growing a new skin. You can put whatever you want in that.
And for the more kind of technologically geeky people,
Mm.
um, I just want to I just want to say the scales of the skin of the snake have so many frequencies and
Mm.
so much potential. And it's very much in that iridescent, plasmic way can do things that we can't even imagine with our minds.
Yeah,
We can certainly experience it. And I don't know how many scales are on a snake, but there's a lot.
a lot.
And each of those have that built into it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Right. Because what's happening, I'll say plasmically for people that have that level of awareness in our world is like, yippee! Frequencies of color and vibration and
mm.
expansiveness, and everybody experiences it, but I just wanted to put that out there for the super geeks, like, the mad scientists, geeky, if you're just experiencing it.
Yeah.
Because I see you and I
Uh,
know.
there is serious tech involved, and I love your comfort level wanting to talk about it. I intentionally don't talk about the tech, because I know in my head how in my head I can get in not a good way.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, even for my Aspergery type, friends, I'm just like, I can give you a technical answer, but I kind of don't want to
yeah,
because I'd rather let you experience it. I'm not going to say feel it because feeling for an Aspergery system is very different.
yeah,
Anyway, we can talk about that separately in a different topic, but that the tech and the knowledge base of it gets very satisfying on some level and can be disorienting to some, can be very connecting for some, and can be very disconnecting for others. So I thank you for your willingness to go there. But this is super tech, 100%, and we can make it as nerdy and formulaic as we wish, or we can, like in my opinion, the best teachers make it very real and very sophisticated and advanced while being able to talk in words that everybody can understand. And I
Yeah.
love that we're both dedicated to doing that. I don't want it to be intimidating. I want it to be almost oversimplified in a way that it doesn't even feel like super tech, but it freaking is.
It is, and it's, I like the word real, and it's very practical.
Yes.
And the only reason I bring it up is
Love
that
it.
it just I could feel it activating some people that were
Mhm.
curious if that was actually happening. And
Oh, yeah.
that is my experience. And the level of the way the tech is operating now is so physicalized. And
Yeah.
that's the point. And some people might feel it. I've been feeling and experiencing it and working with people. It's in literally, I'll say bowels. I can use that word, right? But in the
Mm,
lower parts,
mm,
parts of our body. And that, I mean, when tech gets involved, because it always is,
mhm.
but that really, because we want to be here. And if it's not
Yeah.
practical, I mean, I've shared this before. It's like, oh, yeah, I like that, but I want to be here and do it. Like I want to,
Yeah.
let's make it, usable.
Yeah. We chose to be here. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And we didn't sacrifice any of the supra technology aspect of it by being in our humanness. And I celebrate that we both feel that so much. We didn't leave any of our advanced nature behind by becoming human. And some of us are very passionate about being that
Mhm.
advanced technology, if you will, in our own humanness.
Yeah. Yeah, because our organs are wired to be
Mm.
able to utilize those energetics. And that's where
Everything is.
everything is, our
All of it.
all of it down to the smallest
All
particular.
of it. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. Oh, I love you. I know we went longer than we typically like to, but every time I felt like we were wrapping up, I'm like, oh, Janet just brought up something big, and then I want to bring up something to go with that. So, for anyone that likes the shorter one, sorry, this isn't one of them, but
No.
um, I'm so glad we covered what we did today. Yeah, I almost want to call it the year of the snake.
I know it's interesting
Mm.
how that wove its way into the conversation in that really beautiful it
Slithered its way.
it's
Yeah, it's really
fantastic.
cool. Mm. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Jill.
Thanks,
Oh,
everybody. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. If you enjoyed this, thank you for sharing it with other people. If you want to send Janet or I an email or a message that you appreciated it, it means a lot to us. We're doing it for our own enjoyment and what we feel led to do, but also it does help when I always feel, like, oh, good. When somebody said, I really like that last one, or really like this one, or yeah. So thank you.
thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.